What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I came across this very, very odd news article. Let's get into this right quick, because this is strange, if you will, and I'm not sure what to make of this. Justice Department is examining handling of mortgage fraud investigation into Senator Adam Schiff. Oh, okay, so hang on. Okay, so they found that Adam Schiff actually, when he did all the paperwork for his mortgage for his second home in Maryland, he put on his mortgage application that this was his primary residence. Now, why would somebody do that? Well, you know, when you buy a secondary home, in case you don't know this, that if you put it's your secondary home, the interest rates are much higher because it's a much higher risk loan, right? Because, oh, hang on, you already have this other mortgage, right? You already have this other house. It's a lot higher risk because it's a second home. What is the first thing to go if you lose a job or blah, blah, blah? You know, any luxuries, they go. Boom, right off the top. So you get a much higher interest rate. So the payments are a lot higher, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on, right? But this situation right here in particular is twofold because, you know, not only is that just, you know, bare minimum mortgage fraud essentially, but at the same time, Adam Schiff having a primary residence in Maryland means he cannot serve his California district, right? Because your primary residence when you're a senator has to be within the state that you represent. So there's a twofold situation we have going on right here. Now, that's the basis, you know, that's basically the background story for what's going on in case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard about this. Now, you know, the corporate press is going to smear Donald Trump on this, even though Donald Trump didn't have anything to do with this. This is wholly the Justice Department, but they're going to try to connect some dots in this news article, which is strange. But let's get into this because I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure what to make of this right here. The Justice Department is examining the handling of the mortgage fraud investigation into Senator Adam Schiff, including the potential involvement of people who claim to be acting at the behest or direction of two Trump administration officials who have been pushing the probe of the California Democrat, according to a document reviewed by the Associated Press. Oh, okay, so it's just a document reviewed. So you haven't spoke to anybody about this. You just reviewed a document. That's interesting, once again, which, you know, could translate seriously. Like, because I do this all the time, that could easily translate to they are just making this up. It could. Now, it could be legitimate, once again, but it could also translate to they're making it up, essentially. So just keep that in mind as we keep going forward. Federal authorities involved in the Schiff investigation in Maryland interviewed a Republican congressional candidate on Thursday who has promoted the mortgage fraud allegations against the lawmaker and quizzed her about any communications she may have had with Justice Department official Ed Martin and Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte. The interview came after the woman received a subpoena seeking information about communications she may have had with people claiming to be working at the direction of Pulte and Martin. Christine Bish, a real estate agent who is running for a congressional seat in California, told the AP that she was prepared to speak to investigators about her own years-long effort to draw attention to mortgages held by Schiff, who has homes in California and Maryland. But authorities instead were focused on potential interactions she has had with Pulte and Martin, Bish said. I expected to be asked questions, a lot of questions about how did you come about investigating Adam Schiff and what were your findings, Bish said. What they wanted to know was if I was in communication with Ed Martin or Director Pulte, and I was not. Bish said she kept trying to return to the Schiff allegations, but that the officials are trying to, in my opinion, investigate the investigators. The revelation that authorities are turning their attention to the handling of the Schiff investigation is likely to bring fresh scrutiny to the already criticized push by Pulte and Martin to investigate Trump political foes for mortgage fraud. You see, they're trying to inject their own bias into this because, hang on just a second. Is Adam Schiff a Trump political foe? Technically, Trump doesn't really have any political foes anymore because he can't get reelected, so there's nobody for him to fight with, in other words. But if you mean opposition, then yeah, sure. Adam Schiff has smeared Donald Trump. But once again, they're trying to claim that Donald Trump is going after his political enemies. Now, the Letitia James, sure, because of what Letitia James did to Donald Trump, right? The whole quote-unquote fraud against Donald Trump, which was bogus outright. Now, Donald Trump didn't claim that this was his primary residence to get a mortgage. It wasn't mortgage fraud. What Trump basically did was tried to get a loan off of Mar-a-Lago, essentially, to build something up in New York, I do believe. And Deutsche Bank got the information for the property or whatever to assess the property, the statistics and all the data and everything. And they went over everything and they did their own investigation into the property and said, hang on just a second, you got some numbers wrong here, Donald Trump. Well, they based the loan. They gave him the loan. Donald Trump paid the loan back with interest. Now, supposedly that's mortgage fraud. Supposedly, that's fraud, essentially. Now, you might be asking, how is that fraud? Well, you know, the paperwork that had all the wrong numbers on there, that's supposed to be the fraud. Well, Deutsche Bank adjusted those numbers and gave him the loan based upon the adjusted numbers after they did their investigation. So there actually wasn't any fraud at all. But it was the attempt to defraud Deutsche Bank. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous because they got some numbers wrong. Like, are you kidding me with that? Right, once again, if you want to sit there and say, well, he tried to defraud Deutsche Bank, good. Okay, so then let's look at Letitia James. She did the same thing. She bought a house in Virginia and put on the loan application, the mortgage application, that was her primary residence. Now, once again, same thing with Adam Schiff. Hang on just a second. You can't do that. You cannot be the Attorney General of New York and have your primary residence in a different state. That basically nullifies your official title or whatever. You're no longer the Attorney General of that state. Same thing with Adam Schiff. If he has a primary residence in Maryland, hang on just a second, how is he representing California? Now, once again, I always give the caveat that, you know, these senators and representatives, they spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C. So if they want to buy, you know, a property or whatever in Maryland or Pennsylvania or, you know, anywhere close by, then, you know, they should be allowed to do that. Right? I think so. So the one for Adam Schiff, I can see an out for that. But even still, that is still, you know, if you look at it in a vacuum, it is mortgage fraud. Absolutely. So there's the basis for all that. And they're trying to say, oh, it's Trump's, he's just going after his political foes. But hang on. Trump didn't order the Department of Justice. As a matter of fact, the Housing Authority recommended charges to the Department of Justice. It wasn't Trump. It was somebody else with the Housing Authority that got their information from this lady. But it's Trump going after his political foes. That's how the corporate press is narrating this. Their effort has been plagued by missteps, including overhyped allegations that were easily refuted, as well as the disclosure that ethics officials at the agency Pulte leads were investigating whether he and his allies had improperly assessed mortgage data for those he has accused of fraud. You see what they're doing right here? They're not going to give you any information like, oh, well, there's been missteps. What are those missteps? They're not going to tell you what those missteps are. They're going to tell you, oh, well, they can't do this. There was something wrong with their assessment, obviously. Well, this is something that's easily fact-checkable. All you got to do is go to the loan application and go look at the paperwork. That's it. Did she put this was her primary residence? Or did he put it's his primary residence? That is it. If he did, boom, clear-cut case. It's open and shut. That's all you have to do. And they're trying to make this all convoluted and, hiding behind words or whatever, saying there's missteps. Okay? But they're not going to let you know what those missteps are because they may or may not exist, folks. In recent months, Bish has been contacted multiple times by Robert Bowles, I'm sure that's a misprint, who worked in the first Trump administration and purported to work for Pulte, according to a person familiar with the conversations, who spoke on the condition of anonymity due to concern about retribution. Oh, is that so? Once again, an unnamed source that we can't verify this information. So take that with several grains of salt. Bowes, who is listed on the subpoena, asked Bish to investigate the mortgages of multiple people, the person said. On one occasion, Bowes asked Bish to serve as a source to a national news outlet he claimed was working on a negative story about mortgages held by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the person said. Bowes did not respond to a request for comment Thursday. Pulte did not respond to a message-seeking comment. A message-seeking comment was also left for a spokesperson for Martin. The Justice Department declined to comment. Holy crap, Associated Press. We don't give a damn if these people decline to comment. Just keep going with the story. In August, the department named Martin as a special prosecutor to help conduct investigations into Schiff and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Prosecutors have separately issued subpoenas as part of a mortgage fraud investigation into Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve governor whom Trump has sought to fire. Last week, Pulte also referred Rep. Eric Swalwell, a California Democrat, to the Justice Department for investigations. Is that so? Another one bites the dust, and all four deny any allegations. They deny the allegations, sorry. The investigation into Schiff is being conducted by prosecutors in Maryland. Though the status of the inquiry is unclear, the investigation into James resulted in criminal charges last month in Virginia. She has pled not guilty and, in a filing this week, her lawyers decried what they said was outrageous government conduct that resulted in her indictment. Once again, folks, it's really simple. You just go look at the mortgage application. Did she put primary residence on the application? That is it. Like, clearly, they showed this evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury was like, clear-cut case, indict. Boom. That's it, folks. That's all you got to do. Bish told the AP that she previously submitted her work on Schiff to congressional ethics officials, but that nothing came of it. After Pulte put out a call for mortgage fraud tips, she resubmitted her research to the agency he leads as well as the FBI. Pulte called her and left a voicemail asking for more information, she said. Bish said she has never had a conversation with him. The subpoena Bish received seeks any communications she may have had with Pulte or any persons claiming to be working at his behest, including anyone claiming to be Pulte's chief of staff. It also seeks information about communications with anyone claiming to be working for or at the direction of the Justice Department or anyone claiming to be acting at the direction of Martin. Martin, who also serves as director of the Justice Department's Weaponization Working Group, was tapped to help with the mortgage fraud investigations after his nomination to become Washington, D.C.'s top federal prosecutor was pulled over bipartisan concerns about his modest legal experience, divisive politics, and support for January 6 rioters. Now, once again, that right there ended with lies. Just lies and disingenuity, if that's even a word. I don't care. Like, the lie is, the support for January 6 rioters was he represented several of those people. Like, how is that divisive? Like, these people must have a lawyer, right? Even if you're a court-appointed lawyer, these people are legally bound to represent people, or criminals, essentially, right? A lot of times, the court appoints lawyers. So, hang on, so he's bad because he represented these people. They're not going to tell you that, though. They just want you to think that he supported January 6th. He supported violence against the government, violence against Congress. They want you to think he's a bad person. Divisive politics. Well, you know what? That's not illegal, by the way, to have divisive politics. Every single congressional member has divisive politics. So, that was a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black. The Associated Press is very divisive because they manipulate the crap out of news. They don't tell you the truth. They give you this manipulated gobbledygook nonsense that is far removed from what is truthful. It's insane, y'all. So I really don't know how to take this, right? I don't understand, is this rogue actors in the Justice Department actually seeking to undermine these investigations? Or is it the Justice Department actually crossing T's and dotting I's to make sure everything goes over well with these criminal prosecutions? I don't know. I'm on the fence too. I don't understand which way I'm going to go yet. So you guys let me know down in the comments section. That's all I got, y'all. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button, sign up, and become a member. It's the best way to help this channel grow. But you guys remember that God has a plan for all of us, y'all. He really does. And He loves each and every one of you out there. So y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.